What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Muse podcast. We are doing 32 teams in 32 days. We are on day 8. We are finishing up the AFC East, and we're talking about the New York Jets. Jets. So last year on this very podcast, I predicted the Jets would go 4-12. Have some stuff maybe pointing in the right direction, but it would be probably the demise of Adam Gase. Well, all that's pretty much true. They end up finishing a little bit worse. They go 2-14. But they end up getting the high draft pick. They end up getting the quarterback of hopefully the next 15, 20 years for the franchise. So let's go through the additions and re-signing for the New York Jets. They get Tevin Coleman, Keelan Cole, Tyler Croft, Vinny Curry, Carl Lawson, Sheldon Rankins, Gerard Davis. They tag Marcus May and they signed LaMarcus Joyner. All in all, man, I think it's a pretty good class to bring in. Love Carl Lawson off the edge. I think he's been an underrated guy for a while now. I think Tevin Coleman is definitely an upgrade in that running back room. I don't think Tevin Coleman's excellent by any means, but I think it's definitely a pro. Sheldon Rankins could hopefully apply some pressure from the inside. Marcus May, very, very talented safety. And LaMarcus Joyner has been a player in this league for a minute now. When we look at departures, they lose Sam Darnold, Frank Gore, Brashard Perryman, Josh Andrews, Henry Anderson, Terrell Basham, and Brian Poole. All in all, man, I don't think it's a huge loss. I think the best player they lost out of there is Sam Darnold. And I think they, in their eyes, feel that they got a clear upgrade over Sam Darnold. So I can't be too mad if I'm a Jets fan. I got to like what they're doing. And when we look at their draft picks, they have one of my favorite drafts in the NFL. Them and the Cleveland Browns, I thought absolutely killed this draft. So clearly, they get Zach Wilson, their guy. They had the second choice of quarterbacks. They thought Wilson was the second best guy, if not the best guy, and they got their ace. They trade up in the first round, which I know a lot of people are kind of giving them a hard time about, but I really like the pick. They get Elijah Vera Tucker, who, he's a guard. He's not a tackle. So, some people give them a hard time about drafting interior line that high or trading up and losing value later in the draft because of that. But I love Elijah Vera Tucker. In the second round, very surprised he lasted this long, but they get a guy who's been killing it in camp so far, a guy who was dominant in college, and that is Elijah Moore, who I think is perfect for Zach Wilson at a young age. He's a guy that can make something out of nothing. And then they get Michael Carter times two. They end up getting two guys. I love the back from UNC, Michael Carter. So all in all, like I said, I really like this draft for the Jets, and I think the arrow is definitely pointing up. As far as team strengths are concerned, I look at this team and it's going to be interesting of who steps up. Who's the guy that they can really start to build around, who they can count on for years to come, because they have so much young talent, so many young players that it's going to be interesting to kind of, who's going to put up or who's going to shut up. So I think it's going to be really interesting. Is Elijah Moore going to be that number one receiver? Is he going to be a complementary piece? Is Zach Wilson their dude for the next 15, 20 years? Can some of these guys reinvent themselves? They're semi-young talent. Can Carl Lawson be that ace edge rusher? And there's a lot of things like that that's going to be interesting. When I look at their weaknesses, especially, and this is specific for this year because it's not super hard to correct this, but it worries me, and I'll explain why. So for my weakness, I said they don't have the best group of running backs. And I think the reason that's a problem is because I think that puts a little bit of pressure on Zach Wilson. And it makes him throw the ball a little bit more. It makes the D kind of hone in on him a little bit more. And I said the same thing kind of about Burrow when I was talking about the Bengals, is I worry about the punishment. I worry about the hits. And I always use this example is when I talk about, young quarterbacks taking punishment, is you look at David Carr with Houston. He took an extraordinary amount of punishment, of hits, and it ruined his career. We don't know what David Carr could have been. And I'm not saying that he's in the same exact situation, because I think the Jets offensive line is much better than that Texans offensive line. But you just worry about it, with a young quarterback. So hopefully, between Tevin Coleman and Carter, they can kind of figure it out, piece together a little bit more of a running game than it's kind of what's on paper. And they can kind of take that pressure off Zach Wilson, because you'd like to have him, work from play action a little bit, get out of the pocket, and those kinds of things that he's best at. For biggest question mark, it's easy to say, is Zach Wilson the guy? But I think it's bigger than that. And I compare them to the Browns. When the Browns a few years ago drafted Baker Mayfield, it was, I like the pick for not just the quarterback, not for just the player, but I liked his attitude, and I thought he could change the culture. And it looks like, he's been a part of it. I'm going to put that on Robert Saleh. I loved what he did in San Francisco. And I'm wondering, can he change that Jets culture? Because for so long now, it's been about losing. Since, Rex Ryan had those few years, it just hasn't been good since then. And I honestly think part of their biggest addition is losing Adam Gase. I'm not sure why this guy ever got a second job in the NFL as a head coach. He doesn't seem good. He doesn't seem like his players like him. He doesn't seem like he responds well to criticism or adversity or making changes. It seems like he's a guy who has a script and sticks to it. I think Robert Saleh is a guy who really brings the energy. I think he brings a passion. I think he's going to, by himself, without even talent around him, upgrades that defense. And I think he's smart enough to let intelligent people come in and help him with offense. When I talk about this 2021 Jets, I don't think they make the playoffs, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think if they even come close to making the playoffs, which I don't think they will, but if they even come close, you just call that a victory, right? I think they end up going 5-12 this season, but I'm completely fine with that. They get another high draft pick. I think the arrow is definitely pointing up. If Zach Wilson's your guy, you're completely cool with it. Get out of the season, get him a year under his belt, make sure he's healthy. And then next year's the year where you make that push, you make that run. Again, I kind of compare them to the Cincinnati Bengals in that same fashion. They're in a tough division right now, but they're definitely young. They're definitely talented, and all the things can go right. If they do, watch out, man, for the next, 3, 4, 5 years. They're definitely a team to be reckoned with if everything goes right. My bold prediction is, like I said, I don't think the Jets finish very well this year. I think my bold prediction is they make the playoffs next year. And you're thinking, well, things change pretty quickly in the NFL. That's a pretty big difference in a 2-year span to go from 2-14 to, I predicted 5-12 this year, to a playoff spot. So you're going to probably have to have 10 plus wins. So I think that's a pretty bold prediction, but I think it is plausible. I think they overtake New England next year. I think they are going to go hand in hand with a Miami. And if Josh Allen takes any kind of a regression this year or the year after, I think the Jets can take advantage of that. So it's going to be interesting, but I think the Jets, I'm excited for their franchise for the first time in what feels like forever. There's been so many bad things like the butt fumble. I think the Jets are kind of back. They'll be back more later. So guys, if you like the episode, please click like, please click subscribe, drop in the comments, man. What do you guys think? Do you think I'm off base? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? All that fun stuff. Is there anything that a player that you think I left out, that you think is going to jumpstart this franchise? Please let me know. Drop in the comments what you guys think. And like I said, guys, please help support the show. It's the only way we can grow. And I will see you guys next time.